Scott's unmuted, then we're good.
Call to order the Washburn City Council meeting for Monday, February 11th, 2019. Roll call.
Barnes.
Here.
Gary. Here. Austin.
Here.
Zayas.
Here.
McGrath. Novacek.
Here.
Oswald.
Pledge of allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item is the approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for January 14, 2019?
I'll make that motion. Second.
Any corrections or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is the approval of monthly expenditures. Is there a motion?
I move that the monthly expenditures be approved.
Second? The roll call?
Oswald. Novacek.
Yes.
McGrath. Zayas.
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Gary. Yes. Barnes.
Yes.
Next is public comment. If you could please, if you want to make a public comment, please come up to the microphone and speak into the microphone, and please state your name and your address. Is there anyone who wishes to speak a public comment? Please.
Hi, I'm Roth Edwards, and I live at 221 West 6th Street, Washburn. So, Mr. Mayor, Common Council, I put in front of you a statement this evening And I would like to read through that. But first, I want to make just a general statement that regarding building on points of agreement, I think this is really key to moving forward with business and economic development, which is, I think, a common theme that we can all agree that we need to do in the city. So along those lines, I would say that there are probably 6 out of 10 points that we agree on. When I say we, I mean people on two parent sides of the development issue. But we tend to concentrate on those 3 or 4 points that we disagree on. So what I really want to propose, the theme of this essay that I've written for you, is to start looking and concentrating on those points of agreement. To generalize, I could say that on one side, you have the faction that strongly favors brick and mortar development. This could be summarized as we need to fill in the vacant lots. I'm especially referring to our lakefront. And on the other side, we have a faction which is saying that we need to preserve our green space. 2 different terms for the same land. On the one hand, you have vacant lots, which is sort of a minimalizing term. And then on the other hand, you have green space. You could also say, you could also call it scenic. So these are 2 different sides of the coin. But I'm going to suggest to you that there is a common theme between these 2 sides, which is business and economic development. Now, you may say that we've heard it from me especially, regarding green space preservation. But what I want to add to what I've said, which is I think a key and important point, is that green space preservation is very much economic development, which ties into business development in Washburn, because we have certain assets here, which our lakefront is a major one. And these assets are interrelated. And to close, I want to give an example. 2 examples, actually. One is Chicago, Illinois. Chicago, Illinois, in the midst of all that crushing development, sprawling for miles, preserved the entirety of its lakefront. What would that city be if it had not done that? How would that have affected the business and economic climate of Chicago? The other example is New York City. They preserved 800 acres of their Central Park, including wilderness areas, right there on Manhattan Island, one of the densest populated areas in the country, if not the world. Again, that was a key to that city's business and economic development. So, to sum up, I think that I could agree that there has been a factionalism in this city, but I think it's one that we can easily transcend by looking at these common themes and these points of agreement. And by concentrating on these, to see where these themes and these points of agreement tie together so that we can advance this agenda of business and economic development. Thank you for your time. And one final thing, I'm going to leave 9 copies of this for the public. I've already given one to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Anyone else like to make a public comment? Anyone else?
I'm 91605 West 4th Street, Washburn. A lot of people I've been talking to every week are against public housing going down there. They say let it go for private housing and make sure that there's a special tax assessment so that what it costs the city for the infrastructure, the city gets that money back. When they redid city water and sewer up along 8th Street, that was almost $7,000 20 years ago for 100 feet. 100 feet of new city water and sewer to go along 8th Street west to 8th Avenue. My bill was $6,700 at that time, so I know that for a fact. So let it go to private single-family homes. Let it get developed. And then one other thing, and I'm going to say this again, the number one priority, everybody that I talk to says increasing the commercial tax base and bringing in jobs. And they're not happy that they don't have a city council working for that. And they're really upset over the fact that they have a planning commission, that the brunt of the planning commission wants nothing here in Washburn. When I says, well, the mayor can remove them, but he won't. And they says, I would have no problems with removing any of them. That is number one and number two priority. And number three priority is they had enough with all these nonprofits taking up spots and then wanting from the city. A lot of them are saying that look across the bay because no longer is money being donated to libraries, should be giving money to the city for the amount of work the city has to do, city crew does down there every year. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment? Seeing none, we'll continue on. Next is the oral announcements, proclamations, and appointments. And at this time, we have applicants for various committees. We have for the City Council consideration, first Tracy Snyder for the Lake Superior Scenic Byway Committee. I would ask the City Council for their approval of Tracy Snyder for the Lake Superior Scenic Byway Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And opposed? Next, for the Zoning Board of Appeals, we have Jeff Olson. It's in your packet. Mr. Olson has applied. Is there a motion to approve Jeff Olson?
I'll make the motion to approve Jeff Olson for the zoning board.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Just for note, we still have openings on the Zoning Board of Appeals and on the Bay Area Rapid Transit Board. And I am going to nominate myself to be on the CDBG Housing Committee. I would like to, I don't know, can I nominate myself? I nominate myself for the CDBG Housing Committee.
I move that we approve Ricky Daylall to represent the city on the CDBG Housing Committee.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I'd like to make a couple more announcements. First, I'd like to welcome, we have Bob Anderson in our audience here. He is our new Public Works Director. If you could stand up, people could see you. We're very pleased to have Bob like that. He comes to Washburn with a great deal of experience and knowledge, and we're very glad that he's here, and it's going really well since he's been here. And we're glad to have you. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You brought us some snow, right?
From Alaska.
From Alaska. Thanks for the snow.
And lastly, in announcements, I want to give my condolences to the family. It's our last meeting, the death of Bob Ungroat. The city of Washburn and the Ungroat family are almost synonymous. The business of Ungroat Hardware has been here for more than 100 years. Bob has been a very active citizen in Washburn himself, although he's not born and raised here. He was on so many different committees and involved in so many different ways, and we greatly miss Bob, and he was an inspiration to so many of us. When I moved to town, Bob taught me a lot about how things work in Washburn. So, thank you. Goodbye to Bob. I'm sorry to see him go. First item is a presentation on core community resources with Dan Bowker, presenter. Dan, please step up and speak into the microphone.
Okay, my name is Ann Bowker, and I am the liaison for Washburn to Core. There are two of us. The other one is Jackie Ray Levine, and she couldn't make it tonight. She had to be home on some business out of town. So also Robin Whitaker is here with me, and she works in the office, in the core office. Okay, so what is CORE? CORE started in 2006. It's an organization to help seniors stay in their homes and stay active. It offers Friends Indeed, volunteers. Volunteers sign up to help the seniors. If somebody needs a ride somewhere, they call. Somebody volunteers to take them. They do yard work, they do snow shoveling, they do going into the house and visiting, light housekeeping if necessary. Whatever seniors need, CORE can pretty much do it. How does CORE fund itself? It funds itself through the Encore store, grants, and individual donations. The Encore store is the thrift store in Bayfield, and its money goes to support what CORE offers. CORE activities. Right now, they have had for quite a while activities in Bayfield mostly, and that was Let's Do Lunch, where they have people come and eat lunch and listen to a presentation on lots of different subjects. A while back, they had Fred Fay come and talk about cheese making, things like that. There's, did I say, that's Friday Friends. Let's Do Lunch is where they come and cook the meal and then eat it. They have health and wellness classes. They teach yoga. They have indoor walking. Lifelong learning. There's different classes. They have one this winter on learning to make fleece mittens. They have one called Come Back to the Classics, where they read classic books and like a book discussion. And I know people who are in it and they say, excellent. So it's mostly run with volunteers, and people can volunteer to either take people, to help seniors in their homes or take them places. They can volunteer by teaching a class. They can volunteer at the recess store. CORE has recently decided to expand kind of from its Bayfield place and expand out Cornucopia and Washburn. So I was brought on board to try to extend what CORE does in Washburn. And I went around and talked to a lot of people and asked what they would like to have happen. And two things are happening in Washburn now, so far. One is there will be chair yoga taught by Sandy Drew, a really excellent yoga instructor, and that will start in March. And another one is Games and Coffee Cafe. And that is one that I tried to get going, and finally it is going to happen. And there's our poster. And it starts this coming Wednesday. What we want to do is have seniors come. I talked to a lot of people in Washburn, and they said, we'd like to do something. We'd like to get together and play games. And I said, great, we'll do that, So this Wednesday at 12:30 to 2:30 in the library, there will be games and coffee and visiting. And we're bringing a bunch of games, and we'll see what happens. I hope a lot of people come. So what's the future for CORE in its expanded vision? And I guess I continue to go around Washburn and ask people what they would like to see happen in the Washburn area. If you have any ideas, if there's anything any of you would like to see happen, either contact the office or call me, either way. But each month we do put out, February, so we put out a sheet that explains what's going on with CORE each month, and I've got February and March here. And I can leave that with you, and I think I pretty much covered everything the CORE is and does in a nutshell. But if you have any questions.
We have that in our packet, so you can leave that out there for some folks.
Okay, I will do that. I have a card, and I'm just gonna pass these out if anybody wants to know.
We got your card too.
You got that too?
Yeah, we have more copies of
ours. together.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's,
Well, actually, we have December and January. December, January? Yeah, we don't have February. Do you have February, March? Okay. We don't have February.
What?
We don't have February.
this is February and March, and I've got more of March if you want me to hand more out.
Okay, I'll just pass them around.
Okay,
Thank you.
so that's what happens. Any other questions?
That's it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
CORE is a wonderful organization, and I recently became a volunteer, and it's essentially helping out your neighbors and communities. Anyone who'd like to volunteer, there's your contact.
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor. I think it's really exciting that CORE has expanded with the two areas having liaisons now, because obviously we can see so that some things right here in Washburn are happening and more can happen. And of course, to be thanked for doing that and giving us the opportunity to expand. So I'm excited about that.
Next is discussion and action on request to amend water and sewer credit policy, Sherilyn Sandstrom, petitioner. Ms. Sandstrom? Here? No? Okay. Scott, do you want to lead us through this?
So basically, this is a request. You'll see the letter from Ms. Sandstrom regarding the utility account of Mr. Doucette. And per the current policy that is in place, the situation is not eligible for a credit on either water or sewer. Basically, the minimum is a $500 charge on each, respectively. And so the question before the council is, does the council want to make any sort of an amendment to this policy? When this was put in place back in 2014, prior to that, we had no policy. If something like this happened, you paid the whole thing, and that created some very difficult situations for people, particularly with water breaks inside homes and so forth. So this was put in place to at least provide some relief to those extreme circumstances. And the council at the time kept the limits high to continue to encourage proper maintenance of homes so that the rest of the utility customers would be protected from poor maintenance, basically. However, the question is still before you, are the limits acceptable, or would you prefer to see some adjustment to that?
How would council like to proceed on this? Want to make alterations to the policy, or
Since 2014, how many have we actually had that we've given? Just a ballpark figure. I'm just trying to figure out like context, I suppose.
This probably comes into play just a couple of times during the year. I would say since 2014, we're probably less than, I'd say we're less than 10 times in total.
Given that we don't see these bills for every 3 months, that there can be a problem in this case where a home is vacant. And people, it's not like they're seeing the bill every month and they can catch it on time. I would recommend that it's an increase of $200 per server. This is cut off. Given that even if people wish to be good stewards of their plumbing, they don't see it. I mean, when you look at what they did to the bill, it's a huge increase, $500.
Also, another question. Have we had appeals in the past, requests for changing the policy?
We have not had requests to change the policy recently. When we first put the policy in place, there were as I recall, there were some situations that pushed that policy to be put into place. But since then, we've had some who have not been eligible and others who have been.
So in fact, others have paid.
Right, but that's one of the difficulties when we have a policy.
And then
Then do you
people have
retro back to those that, you know, have had to pay? We do that because that was a policy then.
said-
And remember that someone still has to pay this. And that someone is every other user.
You know, water and sewer.
I'd rather not get into specifics of this case. It's a policy issue we're talking about,
Right.
not this instance for this individual. So, do you think the limits are too high? Or Ms. Linda, you suggested lowering them?
I think they're too high. Given that people don't see the bill, I mean, it adds up rapidly, where it may just, it probably would go just a $100, $50 increase, and wonder what was going on, $75 increase, what was going on. By the time you saw the bill, it could change
Because we've changed the,
to the quarterly.
Quarterly
At
bill.
the
When
time
did
we
you
did
do
this
that?
policy, I think we were still on a monthly.
Several.
I was on the council, but I think we were still on the monthly. I'm not sure.
We were under monthly billing, but it was still a quarterly review.
The idea is people who manage and keep up their property and observe their property. So if you have a water problem, you're not observing the vacant home, it could go for quite a while. It's up to council. Is that a motion you have, Linda?
I just put it up for discussion.
Okay,
Maybe a motion or not?
Karen.
I guess without having a little more detail in terms of really seeing what the circumstances have been in terms of how many times we have used this policy, how far was that over that $500? You know, would 200, what would be the impact of 200? I mean, I don't know how to evaluate 200 versus 500 without information. I mean, what does that mean?
So you
It's
would
full
like,
of, you could say 350, you could say 100. What's magic about 2? I mean, I'm not saying that is a bad number, but I don't have enough information.
Unfortunately, I don't have statistics to give you as to
Well,
when.
right, I understand that, but going forward, you could.
well, we don't have a huge number of people requesting this. How would you like to proceed?
yeah, it's a difficult, I guess, for me personally, like, 500 is a lot, but it's 400 better, is 200 too
Yeah,
low,
I mean,
you could break it in the middle.
yeah.
I think that we did have a policy for a long time, so I remember when there wasn't a policy. So basically, are they the sewer? No, there is no dumb questions, let's remember that in the audience. Sewer and water, are they often related? Like when you have one and the other, like does the other one go up? So is it like 500 and 500? Because I see like 364 here. I'm just using this example. 364 for the sewer. I feel like that's high. You know, so do they kind of go up together if you have like a water issue because you're putting more stuff in this,
Mhm.
right? And so that's why I'm kind of wondering like each. You know, so you basically have to have like $1,000. You know, you see where I'm going with that? Like,
People have it.
yeah.
The answer to your question is yes, there is a proportion to that. It's based on the volume charge, and sewer is, I don't know if it's off the top of my head, but sewer is nearly 3 times the cost of water.
Cost of water. That's what I'm trying to figure out, the 500 and the 500. You know, like,
So from that perspective, if there was a proportional amount, I can see that.
yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Doesn't feel that much. Understand overall.
when the policy was put in place years ago, there was quite a bit of discussion, as I recall. And I would say, I don't think we used a scientific method to come up with these numbers.
Yeah.
There was an agreement or compromise number, because other numbers I thought were thrown out.
Right.
But it could be anything you want.
If you wanted to go that route as a starting place, I would suggest that you kept sewer at 500. Water could be reduced to the proportion of volume rate based on that figure. So I can't tell you exactly what that amount is, but I would let math dictate
Right, so it might be something like the 3-something range.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Given that,
Is that
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
That to me seems a little bit more like, that way when you trigger one, you trigger the other, because overall your bill increases together, right? So when they get their bill, they're like, whoa. So there's gonna be a time where you might qualify for the sewer one, but not for the water.
Right.
I would go down that route. I'd be comfortable going down that route.
I-
So you'd be like a 500, and then it'd be like a 325 or 330 or whatever it is for your water.
It would vary
It would be,
depending on the usage, right? I mean, the
so it'd be-
percentage.
It would vary depending on the rate. If the rates change or something, the proportion will change. So we'll have to update it periodically.
should we suggest we carry this over to a future meeting? We have more information and more numbers?
Yeah.
Better numbers?
I'd like, yeah,
we
I'd
get
like
the
to
bar a
see
little
what
bit?
that would look like in terms of the ratio between sewer and water.
Okay.
And I'd also like staff to give us some indication of when, if we make that change, when that change should appropriately happen. I mean, we can make it immediate, and then does this request fall under that, or do we say going forward? I mean,
I don't think this request would meet that.
Even, no, I
Even if
recognize.
we did it right away, because of
Okay,
the,
right, right.
I think if you did it retroactive, other people would be
Yeah, well,
coming forward.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And I don't think we should do that.
So we'll just let this lie for now, and the next available council meeting, when we have the information, we'll pick it up again. Agreed?
That's great.
Very good. So next we'll move on to the discussion and action on request by North Coast Cycling Association to have a city-sponsored recreational trails program grant for the resurfacing of the recreational trail within the city of Washburn. And I believe Mr. Nate Smithson is here tonight to discuss that with us. Nate, can you speak into the microphone, please?
I think everybody has information in front of them.
Could you speak in the microphone?
I turned it on. What's the battery then?
Is there a green light on there?
You have to speak right into it.
That's a,
That's all.
so I believe everybody has the information. I'm here this evening representing North Coast Cycling Association. Nonprofit group formed in 2009. Washington. Basic mission of North Coast Cycling is to promote cycling in the area and development of recreational trails and routes. We formed a subcommittee in the last year to pursue improvement of the recreational trail through the city of Washington, basically extending from Memorial Park to Wannabe Road, which is the existing Summit recreational trail right now. And so we'd like to pursue resurfacing that trail with crushed limestone. Long-term plan is to connect, have a biking trail from Washburn to Ashland. So the subcommittee for North Coast Cycling is in the pursuit of a grant we worked through the DNR with, and they've recommended recreational trails program grant, which can provide up to 50% funding towards development of this trail. We have one estimate, which is in your packet. This is not a bid. This is just a rough estimate of, I believe, $75,000, which would provide 1,600 yards of crushed limestone. It would resurface the trail, it would compact the trail, it would make it extremely rideable for not exactly a road bike, but just about every other type of bike, runners, joggers. It would still enhance the use for ATVs and so. So it's enhancing the trail that is in existence. There's a slight, we need a slight increase in the development of the trail, which leaves this trust roughly about extending from Memorial Park through the baseball fields, going around the baseball fields, reconnecting to the trail. And so we have some verbal commitments by both the city and the landowner to connect all that. Because the majority of the property is on city property, we would need the grant applied for by the city on behalf of North Coast Cycling. North Coast Cycling would still, Adam Hacker is our subcommittee chairman, and he would and has prepared the entire grant. He would continue to do so. And the city would just be a sponsor of that grant. If it was approved, then North Coast Cycling would pursue the remainder of the grant, or the remainder of the money through donations to some other sources that we could hopefully finish that trail with. Rough time frame of the grant application deadline is May 1st of this year. We may not get approved for 1 or 2 months, but we would possibly know within 30 days if we were approved. Money could be available as soon as September. We would look to potentially start this fall, but maybe more realistically next season. And Scott has helped us a lot with this, and I don't know if you have anything else to add or anything.
No, I have no objection to the proposal or to provide some assistance with the project if it gets funded. As any further efforts on fundraising dollars for any required match, they would need to get the grant in order to move forward, and if they did, this would have to be it'd have to be bid out like any other public improvement project over $25,000 unless there were specific donations for either member or those portions would be exempt.
So this is not asking for a commitment for the trail necessarily, it's asking for pursuit of the grant. The city would administer.
Karen?
There is a 50% match agreement.
Correct.
Right, that was in the past.
Correct.
And that does not have to be identified prior to the grant submission? You don't have to indicate where that match is, how that match is going to be obtained?
No.
You don't.
Thanks. I think it's a great idea. I think it would get a lot of use if it was surfaced this way. So the only question that I have is there's definitely some low spots, some wet spots. So for longevity terms and drainage, I guess my question is, I don't see anything in there about culverts. Because I think in some places it might benefit, it might be raised a little bit of drainage feature. So I just wondered if you thought about that in terms of, that's a little bit more complicated.
Well, I think that would be the responsibility of the contractor who we select. CNW just in kind took a look at this as a proposal so far and came up with some of the numbers. But yes, I think if it's officially bid out, then we have to request colors.
Thoughts on that? Yeah, so I guess in terms of just thinking about the overall cost and what the ask would be to buffer in a little bit extra for that kind of work. Because I do think in some spots it might be that.
The benefit of the trail is it is maintained by Dayton County Forestry. So we have a commitment from them as well to assist in continuing maintenance of this trail. It doesn't affect their maintenance availability. I talked to Jason Bodine on it, he's done up to date on this as well. And so there's even a possibility that they will have maintenance dollars available yet this spring that immediately get to us, maybe pre-buy material, etc. We can't commit him or the county to that, but that's an option, an opportunity. That's one source for additional money.
Ms. Karen?
Mr. Mayor, I just think this is an exciting possibility, and cycling associations to be congratulated for looking for funds to improve the trail. So I would move that we approve their request and that the city apply for the Recreation Trails Program grant.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Nate.
Thank
We hope we get the grant. Next is discussion on park committee activities with our liaison, Jen Mazias. Center.
Yeah, this won't take too long. I guess we've had, since this committee has been formed, we've had a handful of meetings. So we just want to do a quick update, to let you know like what we're working on, I suppose. So there's really been two main items. The first one is the location, kind of the specifications on a dog park in the city of Washburn. And so we're working with a local group and, you know, it's like anything. We wish we had like the perfect spot for the dog park, but to be honest with you, there's pros and cons to a lot of the different locations. And so the committee is still working on those different locations and working with the group and kind of going back and coming up with the pros and cons of them and what about this one? So we're still working on that. The other main item that we're working on is, as you know, we have the walking trail maintenance plan. And there's like 3 different amendments to it, and it was first in like the late 90s. And the bottom line is when you look at it, ecology and, you know, a lot of the things in there have just changed. We've learned a lot over time. And so we have a couple folks on our committee that are well-versed and going out to different professionals and really just taking a hard look at that and basically kind of taking all that information from the plans and coming up with something that we call simpler. Like, you know, more like a program of work and an action plan, something that can be attainable each year, something that Public Works can use, that's easy to follow, you know, and so the one there is just kind of, it just really needs to be revamped. So we have a couple of committee members that gave a presentation at the last meeting and they're starting to work on that. So I would imagine, you know, in the next 6 months, hopefully we'll come and have some recommendations on 2 of those main items for the council to ponder, and just want to let you know that that's what we're working on. And Dan, did I miss anything?
Those are our 2 main topics that we're working on. I think the walking trail one's gonna take some time. You know, we need a plan that our Public Works crew is able to implement and learn how to do. The current plan is a lot of pages strung all over the place. It doesn't seem to have a cohesive way to go about it. So.
And they've looked at those plans, and kind of the presentation last week was some of the things that we've been doing really well, and some of the things that maybe we haven't been following and why. And so really kind of just doing an evaluation. Plans are plans, they're great, but you know, this one definitely is out of date. But there's a lot of good information in there, and there's some new information. And to make it, like you said, very like action oriented, we asked that we make it very attainable. Like a lot of times lately, we've been finding that we have like these big ideas, and sometimes we can't get to them all. So we can have those too, but let's have some simple actions that we can also work on. Questions?
Well, and something that can be more easily communicated so that people aren't surprised. Well, we didn't think you were going to do that, or why did you do that? But
Yeah.
something that the public, because there are a number of people that love that trail, and you know, but so that the general public can also understand it. Yeah, I think it's been hard to hold on to it and figure out what does this really mean, and so good.
Yeah,
Congratulations. Thanks
Yeah,
for
no, it's
doing that.
nice, and we're blessed with a couple folks that, you know, frankly do this for a living. And so they're very good at communicating with the public, and they're very good at doing this sort of thing. So I'm really excited that we have some folks in our community that are taking this on. So really nice.
You next have one document
One document.
Yeah, and
that
that's
everyone
easy.
understands and knows where it's at.
Thank you for your work. Yep, that's all I have.
Fresh people's memory, the Parks Committee was reformed last year, and they've been hard at work, doing really good work. I've been attending the meetings when I can. If you have any interest in this, please attend the meetings or contact any council member or
Yep,
Jen
contact me.
will help with questions. As they go forward, I expect to have really good concrete suggestions from this. Next is item for discussion and action on the concept of city developing the Omaha property on its own. And we have items in your packet. Scott, do you want to go forward on that?
Yeah, I'll give a brief summary here. So at the last council meeting, the question came up, what if the city decided to develop that property on its own, meaning develop the lots, sell the lots, and have individuals build their own homes on those lots? What would that mean? So without reinventing the wheel here, basically took the estimates that were in the engineering report that was done the last time that we had looked at development of that property back in 2016. And in that report, there were two layouts of potential properties that contained both multifamily and single-family homes, what we refer to as the Omaha property. And it had the estimated costs for the expansion of water and sewer and where roads would be necessary in those drafts. So there are some variations that can be made on how the properties would be laid out. I believe those concepts are fairly efficient. And no matter what we would do, there's going to be some need to expand utilities and to provide access to all properties. All properties must have public road access in order to be buildable. So using those estimates, and I did not necessarily increase those, I just kind of took the range. Figured that it was going to cost us around $900,000 to provide the necessary infrastructure to have those properties buildable. And we want to put that infrastructure in before we'd sell the property, otherwise we'll end up in a similar situation that, in my opinion, has plagued the city with the DuPont Park area. And opening up to development prior to having infrastructure in place, that creates a lot of problems. Given that we don't have $900,000 in cash sitting around, we would have to borrow such funds. I took a 15-year borrowing, assuming that tax increment financing would be involved in such a development. And if with that, we would have to come up, the total cost would be $1,240,000 in order to put in the necessary infrastructure to have the lots. If the city was going to recover that from, say, just $1 million of that from the sale of the lots, and assuming that we had a very dense development down there and put 30 lots in there, those lots would cost $33,400 each just to get our money back up to that $1 million point, making the assumption that property taxes generated through TIF would generate the rest to make us whole. So given those costs on quarter-acre lots, I don't see the market for that. I don't see the costs being acceptable to the public. Plus, with the added risk that the city is on the hook if nobody purchases these properties and we have these expenses then to pay. And this is not going to happen overnight, whereas an organized development, building is put up, taxes that are generated right away. We have then guaranteed income to pay our debts. This is a much riskier scenario than having a developer work with that and put their risk into such a project as well, and having a better understanding of what the market will support. And we will, plus with the added time and cost of efforts. This is all being done by city staff. And in theory, it can be done, but the practical reality is we just get distracted and pulled in so many different directions. And if we're going to have every lot sale come to council for action, I just don't see this as a realistic way to get this done and be successful. So I recommend against going this route.
How would the council like to proceed? Okay.
What are we proceeding on, and what is our?
The item is, it's a discussion on action on the concept of city developing the Omaha property on its own.
We have the request for proposals out. I think at the last council meeting, I think we asked for more information. If we were going to, there was some suggestion of going down this route. My question is, on one of your statements in here, it says, the return in tax revenue is a lot lower because the development, this is one of the reasons why I think folks have recommended this, is because if you do the development, it's income-based property taxes. Anybody correct me if I'm wrong, right? And so in general, it's not on the full like amount of the house, that the worth of the house. And so if you were to do individual houses, then the property taxes are based on that value of that house. So say that each house was, somebody built a house for 400,000 here, 200,000 here, whatever. So the property taxes, so your statement that the return in tax revenue is a lot lower, I think over time it would probably be bigger. It just might happen in a longer amount of time. I just want to correct this because the statement to me, that's the reason why people have been talking about doing the individual sell versus the development. That was kind of the pros and cons. Over time, the property taxes would be higher. Am I correct in my thinking?
Your statement is essentially correct, yes.
Okay.
My concern is that it would not happen in time for us to pay our bills.
And you're also talking about the 40-unit development, which could be part or not of a larger, you're talking about a developer in a general sense, who could come in and do maybe single-family homes.
Correct. And to be clear on that, and to be fair, whoever is going to put up a multifamily complex, no matter who it is going to be assessed the same way. It's going to be income based.
Right, unless the city actually just says, we're gonna chop it up into 30 lots and we're gonna sell it and let the zoning code, or however, be how it's going to be developed, right? We would obviously have to do infrastructure, but I'm just saying, like, that's the difference in the tax base, or the property taxes.
A single family home is going to be assessed differently than a large multifamily unit.
I think that's how this conversation sparked at our last meeting. So I just want to be clear, statement in there. Yeah, I'm good.
What would be ideal is to have a developer who wants to come in and do single-family homes and maybe a multi-family portion as well. And
Ideally.
if an individual were to buy the lot and have a home built, it's very costly to do construction. Right? About $300,000 for a 1,200 square foot home is what I think.
Right, but that's the concept that's being laid out.
I know. And would that address the needs of people in Washington? To have a $350,000 investment for their lot. How many people can do that?
Plus, there's no guarantee that all those lots would be sold simultaneously.
Right.
So one might be sold and then 6 months later and 12 months and
Right.
2 months, 2 years. So you can't, unless there was a line of people wanting to buy lots.
But that's really what the concept was talked about last time. And that's why Scott has, so I am, I don't feel, but I think most people know my opinion on this. I don't feel like this is the way to go, obviously. For me personally, the vision that I have, our comprehensive plan for that area is not developing any single lots. And I don't have anything else to add on this, and I guess if we have anybody from the audience, we have a lot of people here tonight, and I'm assuming they're here for this topic, and so I would entertain a motion to open the floor if anyone has a comment on this.
You made a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the floor is open. Does anyone like to speak on this? If so, please come to the microphone and turn the microphone on.
Yeah, I was worried about.
And
Yeah.
say your name and your address, please. Speak into the microphone, please.
Dalton Collins, 501 West Fifth Street. That's right. Yep. I spoke last meeting, and I'm the one that kind of threw out the idea of single-family housing, dividing the property up. I reviewed Mr. Kluger's recapture of Cedar Court, I believe it was. I'm glad you didn't inflate those numbers, because I think they were really inflated before they were put on paper. Some of them are right in line. I used to do this kind of work in Iron River area. I developed a neighborhood over there that sat with nothing on it for a long time. I got interested and wanted to build a house, went to the developer and said, I want to buy lot 11 and 12, and I ended up buying the whole thing. When they say build it and they'll come, it does work. I built my house. I turned around and sold 4 lots within the next 2 years of building my house. So sometimes it is build it and they'll come. Somebody sees the idea, they're attracted to it. I did have to put some money into infrastructure. I did have to put city water and sewer. Xcel Energy did run the power in the subdivision without charge, because they knew they were going to feed the other lots. And it wasn't a long run. Anyway, I talked to 3 different real estate agents from outside of the Washburn area, and they were really confused why we would want to take a property like that and put up multi-family units like that. They said maybe a duplex here and there with some single-family dwellings, but as far as a big housing development like is being proposed, it's like they thought that there would be a better place to put that. Another thing that just came up that Nate had brought up is, modifying or glorifying that trail that goes through there. Now you're talking about building, whether it be single-family dwellings or the moving on project. Now you have that. Now you're spending money on the trail that's going to go right through this property. To me, that's kind of a conflict of, you really want a lot of snowmobiles going through there, through your residential area. It's going to be close, because of where that trail is and where the property out is. And before I sound like I'm bashing the deal, I am a cyclist. My son is a cyclist, so I'm not trying to get rid of the cyclists, but I'm just trying to say it's also a recreational thing with snowmobiles. Now you have snowmobiles going through there in the middle of the night with somebody that's just built, whether it be a housing project or a single family dwelling. So the question I do have is, what does the city council want to sell that for? What if a developer walked in the door and said, well, let me just buy that and I'll develop it? Do you have a number that you're looking for? And Scott's idea, or Scott's numbers of 33,000 per lot, they aren't really that far off for selling lots with city water, sewer, and all the utilities close by. You buy a lot out of town outside of the sanitary district, you still have to put a septic system in, you still have to put a well in. All that brings your cost up. So as far as a $25,000 to $30,000 lot down there, to me, I don't think that sounds all that far off. I understand getting the loan, the recapture of the loan takes time, but I do believe it would work if it's given a chance. We're only throwing ideas on our own here, and we'll sit down and figure out with a couple of different developers if they're interested in what they feel would what the value is, I think that'd be a perfect deal.
Thank you. I just want to make something clear. We have no proposals that have been received in the city thus far. So there is no proposal on the table whatsoever
Or,
anything. Anything.
okay, but I mean, for somebody to come back with a proposal, what are you gonna base their proposal on? You as a council have to have a number of what you're looking for to have somebody come and give you a proposal. If you have 5 proposals come to you, are you gonna take the highest one? Or are you gonna take the lowest one or the middle one?
That's for city council to decide.
Right, but you gotta have a number in your head, what this is worth. Because if you come up, if only get one proposal, you don't have anything to base it on, you have to have a number to base it on. Otherwise, sky's the limit.
We look forward to your proposal.
I'll work on that.
Thank you. Tony, please state your name and address, please.
Tony Jennings, 424 West Pine Street. I just have a question, and that is, how many building permits for new homes have been obtained in the city of Washburn in the last 5 years? Last year?
In the past couple of years, I believe we're averaging around 2.
Dave, please state your name and address, please.
David Anderson, 617 7th Street West. Here's a concept. It's been vacant for forever. Let's keep it that way until we figure out what we want. Just putting low-income housing on this property, and I want to be clear, it is low-income housing. I know it's been advertised that it's not, but it is. But the presentation that we were shown at the last meeting, every other slide was titled low income house. And I think it's a little disingenuous to sell this in any other fashion. So we just heard from the North Coast Cycling, and those are the kind of things that we need. And if we plop down low-income housing right in the middle of a new bike trail, it's a colossal mistake. Colossal. The county garage is a colossal mistake, and we all know it, and this is the same. I don't know what else to say. It's a shame. So, thank you.
Is there a motion to close the floor? No, Roth is on board.
Hi, Ralph Edwards, 21 West 6th Street. And so this city, including some of us in this room, worked very hard on a plan called the City of Washington Comprehensive Plan where community matters. Now, I recognize that the plan is strictly a guideline. It's a guideline, but it's a good guideline. And so, insofar as it's practical, I just want to recommend that we try to stick to this plan. Had good ideas, particularly for that section of Washburn along Central Avenue, and Omaha Street. And it's the kind of development that I think would tie in well with tourist development. What we really want to start promoting in this town. That's why I hit so hard on filling in gaps on Bayfield Street. We have the infrastructure there. We have the street, the water, the sewer, and the lights. And so I think that's one of the points of agreements that I was getting at earlier. Is that's a much more logical place to be focusing development. However, I realize we're talking about this particular lot on Omaha Street at the moment. And I agree with Dave wholeheartedly. It's been there 120 years. We can let it sit a while longer. We said back in 2005 that better ideas for the lakefront will follow. And they are following, they are coming. I think we have to broaden our idea of economic development. I think the proposal by Nate for recreation and cycling trail, this is a form of economic development. This represents economic development. And we can do an incremental form of economic development in the city where we start including these ideas as economic development. And as already been stated, tabling these big ideas would be so impactful and change the look and the feel and the business climate of our city. So I just think we really have to be patient and continue to do our due diligence. Which, by the way, I think this council is doing a very good job of due diligence. So I'll close with that and just commend you for your due diligence, thorough investigation, and it's recommended that you consider it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Is there a motion to close the floor?
Motion to close the floor.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
So back to the topic at hand. Any other comments?
Just as we move forward, I have a few thoughts on this too. I want to make sure that everyone remembers that we're not just deciding to put a development there, like, because we'd like to. It's in need. We are actually in need of housing, of rental properties. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, we should put it somewhere else. I'd say we're pretty lucky to have a lot like ready for development, exactly where it would need to be to apply for a place that could actually help us in development. The other thing, as far as a rush, as a homeowner, I am not in a rush. I can wait 5 years, 10 years, it doesn't matter. People that are trying to rent, or trying to move here, that's why it seems like a rush for some people and it's a little bit easier to wait for others. As far as low income, this area, you could be the hardest working person at any of our, many of our local places and qualify for low income housing. It's hard to live here on a wage that wouldn't qualify for low income. So those are a few things I just want to make sure that, I'm voicing as we move forward, because those are sort of the thoughts in my head. I do really appreciate everyone's thoughts on this. But there are a couple of, counter arguments to some of these that we keep in mind as well. So, wanted to say that.
No other comments for council? I guess this item is laying here for the moment.
Yeah, I don't think there was any decision
Okay.
that needed to be made on it, and I
We just wanted the information, I don't know what the action would be.
Having the city move forward on this track,
yes.
that would be the action. Okay, next item on the agenda is the discussion action on listing city properties for sale with Tony Jennings of Blue Water Realty. Mr. Jennings is here tonight. Tony, do you want to come to the microphone in case council members have a question for you? So there's items in your packet that Tony came to us with a proposal on selling the city-listed properties, and Scott has a commentary in there. Scott, do you want to make any other comments in regards to Tony's proposal?
I have no other comments other than what I have stated. I'm interested in the idea for to start simply first. I'm working on to receive the information on the Harborview Drive property, but I haven't had a chance to look at that in detail yet. So we have had a couple of these properties for sale for a very long time. We have a policy, reminded of that the city would pay any realtor 5% in the past. But no one has taken offer on that, and so with a individualized listing of the property, I think we would probably have better results.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna state, is that these have been for sale for quite some time, except I guess I don't remember the County C large parcel. I don't remember that being for sale. Is that actually for sale?
That is for sale. I am certainly not recommending that property. That one would be difficult because it would need to be adjusted before we would sell it. We did sell a portion of it off as part of an access issue
Okay.
several years ago. But that would be, that property would be for a very single focused type of industrial development.
So I agree with your memo on that, the way that it's stated as possible for an industrial park.
Correct.
I think that that was a possibility. It's a lot of ravines and, so I just, yes, I'm in agreement that I'm not comfortable with that one. I mean, but the first two for sure.
I have a question. While they've been for sale, have they ever been listed before with the realtor?
No.
So they've been for sale, but never listed.
No realtor, we offered them
Right.
at that time, remember when I was on council many years ago, no realtor was interested. They didn't see it be viable, but Mr. Jennings believes he can sell them.
I'm sorry?
You believe you can sell them?
I believe I can sell them. I have a staff of 5 here. There's one stand to show, these are my employees. These are, when you hire me, you hire everybody, and we get the job.
All right.
So, is there a motion to approve the listings of any of these properties for sale with Tony Jennings of Blue Water Realty?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve listing the hillside property and also the hillside and the Brooklyn
The harbor.
and the Harbor View.
After they have,
Property, after the property utilities easements have been verified in the utility connection process, Mr. Janowski.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
Further discussion?
So,
I think it's probably a good time to list 204 and 206 West Fleetwood Street also.
those are
I don't
reasons.
see any downside to listing it.
Is there a reason why you didn't recommend that in the memo?
I wouldn't have an objection to listing it once I've cleared all of our interest.
You have some existing.
We do. They're slowly working, I would say, they're slowly working on it because of various issues.
I'd be comfortable with that.
Until those.
Right, and that's why.
Current conditions are resolved.
Right.
There's an answer with anything that's in the works right now.
Yes.
When are we going to be given information on this?
When we get further information from these people who, we got some in the past, but it's still early days.
So a realtor wouldn't be able to assist in what's currently being proposed to you?
If we sell it on our own, we get to keep all the money ourselves. And we have total control over it. It's true.
It's true. It's true.
And no offense to Mr. Jennings, but if we do the work, we deserve the proceeds.
And do we anticipate that this is a 2-month timeframe? I know it's hard to pin that down, but how long do you think additional information, before we'd have this additional information about the status of that property?
I would say the outset, June.
Okay.
That's the indications given to me by a couple of different people who are interested.
Just so we had some kind of benchmarking
But
of when we might be able to, if we need to consider.
But I suppose if Mr. Jennings came to us with a proposal with an offer, then maybe something city council wants to look into. Scott?
There is a complexity with that property that everyone needs to be aware of, in that it is most likely that any buyer of that property is going to have to enter into a very detailed development agreement with the city. And that, we have to figure out how we would work with that with a realtor in play as well, because that development agreement has to be signed and agreed to before we would agree to sell that property. It's going to take months potentially to negotiate all of those fine details with any potential buyer of the property. So when we are dealing with the inquiries of that, and everyone is a little bit different, what can the city offer? What are we going to be willing to offer? We have a sense of stance on that particular issue and how far we can go. Of course, the goal here has been the city's made whole at the end of the day, or its investment in the property, and viable, flexible benefit city. And the predominant thought is some combination of commercial, residential upstairs, commercial downstairs. There's few variations on that. The few things that are allowed within the zoning code. So we have a broad spectrum of potential uses, but we also want to maximize the benefit to the city. We also want to make sure that it is an individual that has the means and the capability to be successful with that.
I guess the only concern I have is we've heard many times how stretched the administration is with all the other duties they have. And as the next tab, we're going to be dealing with another shortage in the administration. So I mean, you said it sounds like there's going to be a lot of work to do in the next 2 months, and you're going to be shorthanded besides. And I would think a realtor could help. You know, that's just my thought.
Go right ahead. We do, again, I understand that there is it's a very involved process to develop to form a development plan with somebody on that building. My job is to bring those people to the city and assist in any way I can in getting that developmental plan put together. We have a building listed at 509 through 515 Main Street, West Main Street in Ashland. That's pretty much the same type of project. We have, you had mentioned that you'd be willing to pay commission if I brought a person, but I find buyers by being able to promote properties. The chances of my being able to find a buyer for that building on a day-to-day basis are very slim. But as I indicated, I have a staff of 5 people. You may want to take a look at some of the promotional materials that we put together for properties that are far-reaching. We advertise on 75 different websites. We can get the word out there that this project is available, and we do charge a 6% commission, but I guarantee you that our services will be worth it.
I understand and I appreciate the comments. I'm not going to object to having a realtor eventually do this, but I would like to have the opportunity to clear our current leads and to just have an opportunity to also discuss with our attorney how we will likely need to craft and just anticipate any sort of potential pitfalls with that. For that particular property, I'd like to just have a little bit of time to bring that one back. So I'd like to start small, and if it's successful, move that one, because I don't want to see that one sit there any longer than anyone else.
I guess
I think there's a motion.
Next item.
Any other questions or comments? And then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Go forth and sell.
Thank you.
Next is discussion and action on solicitation of assistant administrator position, job description review. As we mentioned, sadly, Dan will be leaving us, take the city manager position in Colorado. We tried to chain him to his desk, but he refuses to stay here. It's a great opportunity for Dan, but now city council must decide if they'd like to change the job description or go forward with hiring a new assistant administrator. Scott, do you want to make any comments on this?
Typically, whenever council policy has been, whenever they have a vacancy, council needs to approve the hiring of that position. This is a position that would have a final appointment by the council. Included in your packet is the current job description. I am not recommending any changes to the current job description. I have included at this point a recommended salary range, and we'll go through our, if you approve the authorization to hire this position, with the job description and any changes you make to the job description, and we'll get this out yet this week. I would anticipate approximately 1 month for solicitation. Then we would have an interview process by the personnel committee. It's been our typical practice. If you want to change that, you can. Council would be invited to participate if they're available. It would be my goal to have a recommendation to council at the April council meeting. Typically, it's going to be approximately 30 days, depending on situation, before somebody could start. So that would be sometime in May is what I would project.
Scott is recommending we use a very similar method we used in hiring our public works director. I think that worked pretty well. The city council can decide what they'd like to do.
Mr. Mayor, as chair of the personnel committee, I would recommend that we approve filling out a request for applicants for the assistant administrator position, and we approve the job description as included in our packet.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? Yes, Ken.
I have one comment. I felt that Dan has done a lot of work in the Parks and Recreation piece of the city. We continue to not have expertise in that arena. And I'm not saying that this position should be, totally, but I'm wondering, and maybe that was just a time period where we didn't have a public works director where Dan helped out. But I thought even when we did have a public works director, I thought Dan kind of took that lead. Scott was like that liaison between the parks. So anyways, I was wondering if we could have a statement in here kind of trying to maybe reach out with somebody that has a little bit of municipality, campground, recreation, parks experience. That's all I have. Otherwise than that, just throwing that out there as an idea. That's it.
Did you have a specific place to add it?
You know, I was looking, I don't know, I was thinking like, so there's a piece in here that says, you know, as a deputy clerk, the duties is assigned, like there's like provide support. So I was thinking it could be like kind of like another bullet. That's asking a lot.
Or another number.
Or another number, yeah, like another number that says like provides support to the, I don't know.
Does
You know.
number 5 not cover it? Provide support to council, boards, commissions, and committees as assigned?
No.
Is that too broad?
That's too broad. I mean, I guess I just feel like it doesn't mean that that person has to have that experience. It just means like if they're reading through this, right, that it might, you know, spark somebody's interest. Like, hey, in this position, I might get to work. it's my dream, just because I feel like it's the gem of our city, and I feel like we continually don't have like that real strong background in that to help out.
It's fun. It's fun.
I can understand and appreciate that because then that function, there is a function there that needs to be filled. It's
Did
a
you
matter-
not do that function a lot? Did you?
He did.
Yeah.
Others have not.
Right.
And so it is,
With he gone, who's gonna do it?
well, and therein lies the question. Because how I've kind of structured things is I love flexibility. And I don't necessarily know who may apply. If somebody has a strong park or recreation type background, I mean, that's certainly a plus. However, we may have someone who has a strong zoning background. We may have someone who has a strong background in other things in finance. And so, I at the time was trying to get some of the base core functions that we needed to have because I didn't want to get this position too rutted in something because I'd like to have flexibility to adjust everyone's duties based on the skills they possess. If somebody is strong in a particular area, I want to change things up.
Yeah, I agree. I guess, for me, I was just hoping that if we had something in there that we might try to draw a candidate, we might be like, oh, I'm gonna apply for this because I might be able to do that. That's my point. I understand that you want flexibility. I feel like putting something like that in there doesn't pigeonhole that you're gonna do that. It just says like, hey, that's kind of maybe might be part of the duties. That might be part of the opportunities. So you might want to come to our city, apply, you might get to do that.
Can I satisfy you with putting something in the ad about them?
I'm throwing out there for discussion. I'm easily entertained by anything that we could possibly do that it's not like a no. Like not a no-go for me, that. I'd like something. That's all.
What
Think
does
about
city
it.
council feel about that?
Anybody else?
4 other members.
Yeah. Anybody else? Dan, you have any thoughts on that? Someone who obviously applied for a job recently.
It doesn't bother me either way. I did do a lot of parks stuff. I got thrown into that because I had to work on the campground reservation system, so that just kind of pulled me in that direction. It'd be a. I think you're going to need part of that going forward. I think our new public works director is going to be very easy to work with in that aspect. I think he understands usually what we need, but there may need to be a liaison type or someone that is going to help push those projects.
But wouldn't this be something that you discussed in the interview questions, not necessarily set as a specific subpoint in the job description? Because I think the person, you need someone who can work with any of the committees and commissions as needed. And to put it in there and make it look like it's part of the job and attract someone who is applying because they think it's part of the job, but then no, we're flexible and that won't be the part of the job, that would disappoint people. And that would be a big switch for the
Unless it's part of the job. And I think
No,
there's
but
tons
once
of
I have the
things.
flexibility to.
Right, but there's a
make it
lot of
happen.
things that are listed here that are part of the job. It's about, I'm fine, I might be a little off base, but there's all sorts of like assist in preparation of city budgets, assist in the overall support and direction in our city campground and rec. We have 2 campgrounds.
What about under?
I think it's part of everybody's job here. I think it's a huge part of Scott's job. So I feel like it's something that's part of the job, no matter who comes in here. It's part of stuff that Tammy, everybody works with in the city. It's part of what we have. I would say like not every city has two campgrounds. You know, that's my opinion.
Unless you have something in the, I don't want to say it's a qualification, but somewhere where experience in Parks and Rec is positive.
Yeah, something like that would be helpful.
It's
I
not
think
a
just to kind
requirement,
of promote
it's not
that,
a
that's a
duty.
big part of our community. I feel like, I don't know, I think it's something we kind of gloss over, and it's actually one of our, we have a marina. It's like one of our few income generators that we have, you know? Anyways, and even if it's in the ad, like there's just, I would just like to see something personally.
By the same token, if you put it in there, someone could read this and say, I don't have any experience in parks, therefore I may not be qualified to do it.
I think if you put something like Dan in there, that it's a,
How would city council like to proceed?
Well, I think Jen makes a good point, I mean, because those are legitimate activities that need to be accomplished by staff, either the assistant administrator or someone. And so to ignore it, is peril potentially. I think the dilemma that I'm struggling with is that if the public works director had been in his position a little bit longer, we would be able to look at, well, is there some sharing of activities around some of the things that Dan has been doing? How does that really work? And that's the flexibility, I think, that Scott was talking about. And so I'm struggling with trying to figure out how you add it as a potential task here without locking yourself in. I don't know. I'm not an expert in
yeah, and you can vote
job
on, and
descriptions,
you
so-
can vote on the motion at hand.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you my opinion that I feel like if there's somebody out there that has some of these qualifications and has some experience in running municipality type kind of recreation things, then I think that is somebody that we would like to attract to our community.
And I think you see that in the resumes and you pull it out in the interviews. And it doesn't need to be specified. I mean, you want so many skills and so much experience here that you could pinpoint all kinds of specifics in the ad. But I think, provide support to council boards, commissions, and committees. And then in the interview and when you're looking at the resumes, you see what they can bring to the table.
And I didn't have any specific background in Parks and Rec prior to this. Professionally speaking.
It's really a managerial skill, able to look at a task that needs to be done and figure out, how best to accomplish it. It would be good if a person had some of that background, but again, the skill set, I think, is transferable between, making sure our parks and our campgrounds are running well. I'm not minimizing them.
Oh, no, I'm giving you my opinion. My opinion is I'd like to draw somebody that has that. And if it's not stated that that's some skills that we want, or if it's not stated that we have these municipal campgrounds and that could be part of the position, then you don't draw it. And that's my opinion. And you can vote on which you would like to vote on. But I'm just telling you what my opinion is.
The only remaining thing I'll say on this is, what is this position? And who, in my opinion, would I like to see in this position? I think we all recognize this is an entry level position for the most part. And who I would like to see in it is someone who is malleable, willing to learn, willing to take on a variety of projects and issues and gain experience, and to really help find themselves and develop their own interests as well. I think I'd like to provide the staff with challenges and opportunities to try new things. I am certainly not one to favor being rutted and doing the same duties every day. I think that being a small community, you have to be flexible, you have to have the ability to expand horizons. Because we get to taste a lot of different things. We don't get to be experts in anything, but we get to, we're dangerous that way. Kind of relate the position to being you're part firefighter, you're part counselor, you're part emergency room doctor, and you're part magician. You combine all those things, and that's what the job is. And we need someone who can do all of that.
Is there a motion? There's no motion?
There's a motion to
There's a
approve
motion.
it as is, seconded by Barb.
Any other amendments, changes? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Passes 4-1. Next is discussion and action on administration goals and objectives for 2019, review of 2018 goals for the city administrator. Do this annually. Scott has his 2018 goals and projects with his responses in the packet. Is there comments on councilors on any of these items, or questions you have for city administrator?
Appreciate it. It was really clear and thorough and very good update.
In closed session, we will be doing the annual evaluation. Just a discussion of his goals from last year. And we have his objectives for 2019. Any comments things you'd like to add, subtract? Many things will be coming up, as they always do, unexpectedly. Scott?
Well, this is the opportunity here, basically, and I realize that there will be changeover on council, but with that, this kind of just sets the pace or sets the tone too, while new council members kind of get into it and find their bearings as well. And this is what I see. I've outlined some of these in the budget. Some of these are ongoing projects that we've discussed a lot. So I don't think there are too many surprises here. But if I'm missing something, if I'm not getting a project that you think is a higher priority, this is your time.
I think the only thing that you don't, you like list a lot of examples, but I feel like something that you spend a lot of time on is kind of like you list the West End boat ramp improvement project. Did I miss the Colva?
Well, I had the cool doc was on the last
On
one.
the last one, I just feel like I feel like it's still ongoing.
Yeah, it's still ongoing.
And I know that, I'm just thinking for like future, like I see it here, I know it's gonna be part, I have a feeling it might eat your lunch this spring, so that's just, I don't know if you wanna just throw it in like, it's not under development, I don't know, I just wanted to throw it out there that I know it's gonna be a big project, we talked about it in 2018, I think it's gonna take up a lot of time in 2019, that's all.
Well, the project is 80% done.
Yeah, it should be done in spring.
We'll have some closeout and some financial stuff to complete. We have to deal with the shoreline lake bed ordinance coming up. But other than that,
Okay,
I think that project is under control.
all right, that's fine, I just didn't wanna I give you credit for something that you're gonna be spending a couple months on in the spring. So.
Karen?
I have a question regarding the number 5, treatment plant capital needs, develop recommendation. Do you have any idea in terms of, is that the first half of the year, the second half of the year, fourth quarter? What do you have a timeline in your head for when we might look at that recommendation?
With that, so we're working on that right now. Utility staff, I haven't had a chance to talk to our works director. I've only been here 4 days that he's been here. So we haven't had a chance to sit down and chat much.
And you can come back at a
Well,
later
but
date and give me that information.
they are working on capital needs. They have had their energy audit done. That report is being put together right now. Where I have to focus is I've got to get the bid document out for the solar project. Okay. So all this will be coming, and I'm anticipating this probably in around April. I don't know if it will be this council or the next council, but it's going to be sometime in the spring when all of that will come up.
Beyond the solar project, the other capital needs also. Or just
Some of
solar?
that,
Okay.
maybe, and then the rest of that will probably occur during budget time.
Okay, that's fine. I just was generally interested in what's your estimated timeline?
I will say the immediate stuff related to energy needs will be this spring, but the rest of the stuff we'll prepare so that we've got something good to present to you for budget.
Anyone else with questions? So I guess the motion would be to accept the 2018 goals that were completed and accept the 2019 proposed goals.
I was so moved.
Second. Any other questions or comments on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Next is discussion and action on ordinance 19001, updating the regulation concerning governing excavations and openings in streets and sidewalks to be consistent with current technology. So, Scott, do you want to comment on that?
This is a very simple ordinance change. Just to basically add the word boring, we don't want to have borings occurring. We didn't have any language in our old ordinance on it. Borings are much more common today. So this just adds that to our ordinance. We had discussed prior to the meeting about perhaps one additional small change of having a public works director or designee included in that.
Slight wording change. Okay.
The emergency excavation.
Under 6-2-4A, after the word public works, director of public works, or designee. Just in case people are out of town, so we're covered legally.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of ordinance number 19-001 as amended.
With the word or designee. The second,
Second.
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is the discussion and action on the ordinance 19-002, updating the regulation of keeping of chickens in the city. And we had some questions about free-range chickens, and this is prohibit free-range chickens, so all chickens must be enclosed at all times in a chicken coop or a chicken run.
Does this include someone's fenced yard? Is that considered free range if they're in a fenced yard versus a run next to a coop? Has there been problems?
Yes.
That was my question. I didn't know.
I didn't know what the, I didn't know what the, I mean, I
Yes,
know people who let them run around their yard. But there's no problem.
they will not stay in the yard.
Oh, they were escaping the fence, walking around the neighborhood and meeting loose dogs.
Well, is this because our runs have a top to them?
Yes, so
And so somebody's backyard, it's just fenced in so they can.
Get out.
Not everyone is thrilled about having a neighbor having chickens. So
Yes.
is there a motion to approve ordinance 19-002?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 19-002.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Come on, Jen.
I got nothing, man. I got nothing.
Not a squawk out of you?
Not as far. I understand not everybody loves chickens like I do.
Well, there are other people who don't care.
Keep them in their runs.
All in favor, please say aye.
I
Opposed? Okay. Discussion and action on Chamber of Commerce use of Thompson's West End Park, Woodville Park, and the Cold Dock.
We
Oh,
need
this
the
one, I'm
single
sorry.
polling place.
Oh, sorry, discussion action on resolution 19-001, combination of awards for single polling place in the spring election. We do this every year. It's pretty
I'll make a
standard thing.
motion to, that we accept resolution 19-001 regarding the combination award single polling place.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
I
Opposed? Now we do discussion action on Chamber of Commerce request for closure of portions of Bayfield Street, Cold Dock, West End Park, uses, and all those things in our calendar. Any, motion to approve the Chamber of Commerce request, which comes every year. This has all been looked at by our police department and city administrator.
I move that we approve the two requests for both Dandelion Days and Brownstone Days that have been received from the Chamber of Commerce.
You can do 2 for 1, that's fine.
Yep.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, any questions or changes? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Next is discussion of, we did that, we combined Dandelion Days and Brownstone Days. Next is alcohol licensing matters, license number 20-51 and 52. Is there a motion to approve these
I'll make a
licenses?
motion that we approve the bartender license applications 20-51 and 52.
Is there a second? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
I so move.
Could you read the
I move, oh, right. I move that we,
the top of the line, top of the agenda?
right, that we elect to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, bracket 1, bracket, closed bracket C, closed bracket, for personnel matters.
All of which we may convene in
The city
Open
council may
session.
reconvene in open session to take any action that may be necessary on closed session items.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is the roll call item? Yes,
I
Scott,
have a question. Do you want me present for any portion of it?
that is up to council.
No. Or should we go into closed session and discuss that?
I don't think we need to go into closed session to discuss that.
don't believe that we need to step in.
Nope. Okay, so I guess no. I will take minutes. Roll call.
Oswald. Novacek.
Yes.
McGrath. Matthias.
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Take a couple minute break. Sit up.
Notice on this one, update, this is not, statutes will change, Commissioner. Nothing that's substantive, but
Well, we'll get into that.
yeah. I know, well, one of our, I was actually listening. Said that one of the band